Bork believed the only reason you had any inherent rights was because the government gave them to you. If you go back and look at the opening comments of the Bork-Biden when I was questioning him as chairman, I said, I believe I have the rights that I have, not because the government gave them to me, which you believe, but because I'm just a child of God. I exist. I delegated by joining this union here to delegate some obligation, some rights I have to the governments for social good. So the idea that somehow there is an inherent right, that there is no right of privacy, that there is no right, and remember...
That's not in here. When the leader of the free world invokes an omnipresent God as his authority for the right of privacy, we got some big trouble on our hands. Well, so a lot of bad, you turn on any news right now and it's bad news. Gone into a recession. And everyone's pissed off too. We got this Roe v. Wade thing, which has got the country in upheaval. Apparently it also means there's potentially no interracial marriage, even though one of the justices who voted for it is in a interracial marriage. But when you have this hyperbolic language, obviously doesn't bode well for unity. But I want to make a assertion, my thesis. And I'll keep beating this drum. But when people can't be successful, when hard work and dedication lead to debt, like a lot of kids in college, although it was dumb to take on that debt in the first place. But the point is, we live in a different world than our parents did. And cost of housing is taking up more of the average income. And then we have inflation. All this is part of the system we've been living in since really 1971 or the early 20th century, since the Federal Reserve came about. Debt is part of the system. It's a feature, not a bug. And now we're kind of at this place where people are seeing why it's bad, because it causes inflation. But a lot of people are pissed off and they want the government to fix it. And unfortunately, they don't realize that the government is who caused it. They caused the rising home prices in 2008. They caused the crash by incentivizing banks to give no income verification loans. And they're starting to do it again. Guess what's on the rise? Adjustable rate mortgages. They're starting to look into these mortgages once again where your credit score doesn't matter. And that's just assuming that banks right now today, there's all these potential people that they can loan money to. They just don't want to, right? So the government has to come in and say, hey, you should loan to them. They're nice people. They'll pay you back. If that was the case, why would banks not do it right now? I don't know. If the banks are in the business to make a profit, why wouldn't they loan them the money right now? Because they're not worthy borrowers, because they have a higher risk of being not paid back if they loan money to these people. But the government comes in and takes out economic incentives and causes the whole system to crash. But that is a feature of a system where money is made up. And if you really think philosophically about what is money, think about what you think money is. It's just a medium of exchange that two people agree on. And we live in a world where there's a certain group of people that could print that and give it to whoever they want. And what that does is devalue your labor. You may not see it every single day, but it happens and it affects the economy and it pisses people off. They may not know that's why they're pissed off, but a lot of times That is why, because the government can seize a lot more power than they otherwise should have, because they have the power of the printer. If they did not have that, there would be a lot more checks and balances with voters, and a lot more checking the ledger on what government is spending, because it would actually be money that we paid to the government, and taxes would be more fair, in my opinion. So that's why we have to fix the money. People get pissed about all this government overreach, and government may not have the control, and they're bound by the Constitution, but half the time they just delegate these authorities to like the EPA and OSHA, and then or the CDC. CDC, it just came out that they were tracking people during COVID. They were tracking people's phones. Where did they get that authority? You know what I mean? So it is really not, hey, we need to get these people out of power. We need to get these people into power. We need checks and balances again. And my assertion is, no matter who's in power, if the incentive exists, people will abuse it. And right now we live in clown world. We live in a world where the system is falling apart. People are quickly, in terms of history, quickly realizing what has been going on. Truth is coming out, and they're realizing that I don't know if I can trust any of my institutions, which is not good. But how did these institutions become so corrupt? Because of corrupt incentives. So we need those checks and balances once again, in my humble opinion, because a new person, a different president, they're not going to fix corruption, only fixing the incentives. And that's voters' responsibility, holding them accountable. And then also, I will say this as a side, don't be reliant on the government. Be a person who sees this system, this fiat system for what it is, and look for outside options. Because it doesn't matter, let's say you know nothing about Bitcoin, you know nothing about investing. I think your first step should be, will this fiat system, the dollar system, continue? And if you look at our national debt, you look at the taxes we take in, you'll see our national debt is growing every year at a rate way higher than the amount of taxes we take in. And that's not even accounting for what if we have a recession. So the problem with that math is we will get into more debt as a country. Our price on that debt will continue to go up. And eventually the bill will come due where somebody gets a pay cut, and that would be Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, or people lose faith in the dollar. So one day that will happen. That is a guarantee. That's just math. So the question is, what are you going to do about it? Educate yourself, find out different options. Again, I love Bitcoin, but I think people should educate themselves on things like Bitcoin and not just listen to somebody online and be like, oh, well, I've heard Bitcoin is a scam. I've heard it's great. I heard it. I think you should educate yourself and develop your own convictions and not just listen to somebody. Anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Be sovereign in your own life as far as your finances go. And this kind of tomfoolery and stupidity in clown world won't affect you nearly as much.